Hey guys, it's Jane. I am here today to do my May wrap-up. That's right, I've mentally prepared myself. I'm finally ready, and here we go. In May, I read 16 things. How on earth did that happen? Anyway, there you go, 16 things. I'm going to just run through them really super quickly. I've talked about almost all of them before in various videos, and if there's something that you're interested in, if you look in the description, I'll link to where I've discussed it. Earlier, I read Cinder and Scarlet from the Lunar Chronicles. This was for my in real life book club, and my basic verdict is I read Rat Queens and the first volume of Saga. Yeah, Rat Queens not so much. Saga I enjoyed, and I'm going to keep pushing on with. I reread American Gods, which I loved again, and I also read a short story in that world called Monarch of the Glen, which was also enjoyable. I read a novella, AmityHorrible, which is about a psychic, and the story itself was quite cute, but there was this, man, was there this sex scene, not for me. I read 3 first books in crime mystery series. The Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder, I actually did a Mystery Monday review about, which was a pretty good, cozy, and Joanna Fluke has, launched 1,000 books now, so she clearly knows how to do it. The Other Woman, which is the first of the Hank, Phillippi, Ryan, Jane, Ryland, Jake Brogan series, which has just been winning the Agathas lately. The Winter Queen by Boris Akunin, which is Russian. It's set in the 19th century Russia. This is a really cute one. I haven't actually talked about this, but I'm planning to do a review of it probably next Monday. But yeah, The Winter Queen was fun, and I'm definitely going to be reading more of the Erast Van Doren books. So that's for my 3 series that I had a look at the beginnings of. There's 2 more books I need to cover before I get to my favourites of the month. There was the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, set in the Second World War, the immediate aftermath of the Second World War, and it's looking at the German occupation of Guernsey, one of the Channel Islands between Britain and the continent. And it was really sad, basically. Really sad. It's a war story. What can you do? And First Impressions, which was a kind of suspense romance thing about books and about Jane Austen. That was a light read, a really light read, but I was completely in the mood for it at the time, and I very much enjoyed it. So, getting onto the most memorable, or my favourite reads of the month. Magic Burns, which is the second Ilona Andrews, Kate Daniels book. I read Magic Bites, the first one last month. I'm actually just in the middle of the 3rd one at the moment, Magic Strikes. These are kind of just popcorn, but they're great. They're tightly plotted. The timing is really good. The heroine is interesting. She's, kick-ass, which I love. But, she does have a little bit more going on than just, beating people up. And, yeah, the side characters are really fun. It's an urban fantasy, I guess, is what it is. It's fun. So if you're looking for something a bit fun, that might be up your alley. In May, I also finished the Swan Book, which I just posted a reflection kind of on, not really about the book, more about the experience of reading the book. I'm going to be chewing on this one for a time to come. So even though I don't really know quite what to say about it, it's certainly memorable. It's one of the main books that I read this month. Alexis Wright, the author, is Aboriginal. It's set in the future, about 100 years in the future. The central character, Oblivia, is a young Aboriginal girl who was raped very traumatically as a child, and since then she's been mute. And all these things that happened to her, including being taken as a promised wife by an Aboriginal man who has become the president of Australia. For me, it feels like deeply, deeply symbolic. Like lots of the stuff that's going on feels like it's code for something else, but I don't really know that I know A, that that's the case, and B, if that is the case, what it's code for. But who knows? Maybe one of these days I'll look back at it and have another try and understand it a bit more. I'm not really sure. If anybody has read the Swan Book and wants to kind of fill me in, then I am so up for being told. I am ready to be schooled. So there's that. I just finished, just in the last day of May, Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kreuger, and that was an amazing book. That in any other month, that probably would have been my favourite book of the month. I will be doing a full review of that one. In a sense, it's a murder mystery. Won a whole bunch of crime awards last year, was released last year, or the year before last, so it was eligible for awards last year. But it doesn't actually, even though those events are in there, that's not actually how it reads. It reads like it's a meditation on the human condition or something. It's beautifully, beautifully written, and although there's all these tragic circumstances in it, it's told in such a way that it doesn't weigh you down, it lifts you up. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. As I said, I will be doing a full review of that one. But given that this was actually not my favourite book of the month, I'm going to just save this little moment to say The Outskirter Secret by Rosemary Kirstein. That was a fantastic book. Now, even though Ordinary Grace was probably a more important book, I'm just one of those people who I just love a good story. I love a good story. And The Outskirter Secret is such a good story. So, yay, I'm going to be picking up the third one of these really soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that is the books that I read, the 16 things that I read. Apart from that, I'm just going to run briefly through other videos that I made. I made one discussion video about rules for reviewing books, based on an article I read about John Updike's rules for reviewing books. I really appreciated that, all the comments that people left and the discussions. That was fantastic. I did a taster video for American Gods. My taster video, I do them every so often, and basically it's just me reading an excerpt of the book. So I did one of those for American Gods, and I did an awards update on a Mystery Monday, looking at the Agathas, who won the Agathas this year, and the shortlists for 2 categories of the daggers that have been announced. And the other video that I made was my birthday celebration, because my channel has turned 100 videos old, and I spent a couple of weeks fiddling around getting that video ready, and that was a lot of fun. So that was it. That was my month. That was May. Yeah, I'm not going to mention Seven Eves because that's a whole other sad story that almost needs its own video on its own. Why don't you tell me what the best book you read this month was? I'd love to hear. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!